So, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Good evening.
Hi, everyone.
We have a very interesting theme, routines. Lisa is currently in Dubai, so if you hear some, background noise a bit, so she is in the hotel, and there is like 3 hours more, which is like 11, right?
It's 11 o'clock, so we have to keep the conversation going. I can keep myself
don't worry.
awake.
We will.
And but don't worry, I'm relaxed. I'm having a great time here in Dubai, and I'm here for 5 weeks. So we took a whole family vacation. My husband came over, the kids came over, so we're having a blast here.
If you can put in the comment lines, I can see you guys on my phone on LinkedIn. If you can put in the comment lines that you can hear us, both people on YouTube and on LinkedIn, that would be great. And then we can start, okay? Because it's taking some time for StreamYard to connect, because unfortunately LinkedIn does not have native broadcasting service. So you need to use third party. We are using StreamYard. It's always taking a little, with time. So if you can put in the comments that you can hear us and see us, that would be great.
While we're waiting, I have to say the number of people who messaged me. Okay, good.
Yeah.
So we've got everyone joining, and I just want to say the number of people who messaged me, commented on LinkedIn, said, what a topic. This is so important. This has been life-changing. We're so glad that other people have discovered the power of routines as well, because it is literally life-changing. And so we're really happy to talk about it here today. We'll also love to hear about your routines and, chat with us throughout. Let us know.
Exactly. So maybe, Lisa, you can kick off the team. I have, some notes, and then we will ask for the Q&A, and we can, discuss also about your routines and, all the stuff. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I have to start off by saying I'm one of those people that hates routines. Okay. So I'm not the kind of person who's saying, oh, follow routines and I love a to-do list and I check it off and my closet's, color-coded. I am not that person. I'm much more the creative type. I love to be free thinking, free flowing, spontaneous. Now, Switzerland has taught me a few things about how to stay organized and on time. But by nature, I don't love routines. And I had my first sort of aha moment with routines when I had children, because guess what kids need the most? Routine. But that was the routine then. And I was like, yeah, it's better to keep a routine because the kids don't get tired and blah, blah, blah. But I felt a little bit stuck. I didn't feel enthusiastic about these routines. What I discovered, and this is what I think is so important, what I want to actually discuss more with you, Jan, and everyone who's joining us here today. What I discovered is I love my creative freedom. I love to be innovative. I love to think of new ideas. And what I found out, especially after reading Originals by Adam Grant, where he talks about how to be more creative and more innovative, what I discovered is when you have a base that's really set, this part of your brain doesn't have to constantly be using extra efforts to think through small things. Right? What time should I wake up in the morning? What should I do for my workout? What time should I eat? What should I eat for breakfast? Where should I? All that energy you're wasting on these things that could easily be a routine. So when I said, oh my gosh, I want to be more creative. I want to have more fun. I want to learn new things. I want to go have adventures. The only way that my brain can handle it at that capacity is by setting routines. And I set a bunch of different routines, morning routines, night routines, work routines, workout routines, all of it as much as possible is automated so that I have the freedom to go do all the other stuff I love. And I will certainly share more about that later. But I would love to hear your thoughts, Jan. What do you think about the power of routines?
And I will move a couple of thousand years, ago when Aristotle said, we are what we do regularly. That's the power of the routine. And why? He was not obviously neuroscientist, because at that time the computing power was not that strong as of today. But what we know today, that our brain is pattern recognition machine. our brains actually likes very much certainty. Our brain likes pretty much the things which we can, repeat, because you have like your mental power for the day. It's finite. And imagine if you would spend time on some stupid thing, how to handle your toothbrush, for example. Every time you would need to think, hey, how should I do it? Right? Now, what do you do once you take your toothbrush? The program, the routine in your brain, in the long-term memory, it's like release, hey, this is what I need to do. So the routines are very good because our brain likes predictability. Once you do some, routines, you have a good amount of the time for creative work, to be curious and stuff like that. In fact, as you know, I coach some finest athletes in the world, and some of them, they are packing their bags, in the same way for 20 years, the same way. To the tower sector A1, right? Stuff like that. It maybe sounds very stupid, but this is it. This is how you can save your mental power. That's number one. Number two, if we are like finishing our routines, dopamine is released, and dopamine is reward hormone, and you feel good, like, hey, this is done, I can check it out and I can, continue. It is a good time. In fact, now we have, Olympic Games, and obviously people are asking me what kind of the advice you giving, athletes for the, D-Day, the top day when you compete. And I'm always saying it's all about routines and plan of the day, because your brain likes predictability. That's number one. And number two, it's like start your day with some activities you like very much. So then endorphins are released and you are ready for a good day. But once you start your day, your competing day in a good way, chances are that it's going to be good day. If you will start like negatively, it's gone basically, right? So what I'm saying, I think if you want to be good in whatever activities, routines are key, and routines are same with us some mental power for some more important tasks. That's number one. And routines are helping us to mix the winner cocktail in your brain. Okay, tell you one thing. Okay, whatever is your performance, it can be physical performance, it can be mental performance. The way you perform, it's like your brain is bringing you the experience through the senses. Okay. And then if you are 100% concentrated, if you are here and now, okay, you have a good, routines to keep you in the present moment, then your brain is reacting in the proper way. So you are basically bringing the right picture, if you will, from your long-term memory, whatever is there from, your experience, and then you pair it with the reality, and your brain will budget, sugar, water, salt, whatever is necessary, because each and every movement and each every thought costs you some energy, okay? And those, those routines can help you to be here and now, because if it's a routine, all right, and you are used to do it, your amygdala, the emotional part of the brain, will leave you on your own. This is the reason why Rafael Nadal is like between the balls, he's doing like, okay, then he's like taking his shorts, up, and then he's like drinking the water between the games, in some, a particular way. This is not stupid. This is the way, which is like how he's anchored back into the present moment, because he needs to be concentrated all the time when he's, playing, right? That's why those routines, even in the sport, are so important. That's kind of the kickoff from my side.
Yeah. And what I love about what you're saying is the routines, people are very familiar with sports people having routines and business people having routines, but actually all of us have a routine in one way or another, but we might call it something else. We might call it a habit. We might call it rituals. I've been doing a lot with my daughters around religion and trying to explain when we're saying a certain prayer in a certain way, when we, celebrate a holiday in a certain way. I told them, we celebrate Christmas, right? That's a routine that we have every year, December 25th. We, roast a turkey, and that's what we have. And I think it's really important for people to not feel a routine somehow takes away from what they have. I love what you said about the present moment, because Jan, you and I often talk about how to get into the flow state, right? How do we get to the state where something is, interesting, fun, exciting, but not so hard, so new, so crazy that we're in stress mode, right? We want the right amount of stress so that it's interesting. Having routines can then help us to be present, to be focused, and then also to find ways to get into our flow states. And that's where fun, curiosity, experimentation come from. Now, for me, like I said, hate routines. And so that's why I came to Dubai. I did not tell many of you, I haven't announced it necessarily publicly yet, but actually my husband and I, my daughters, I took 10 weeks to be away. We're going to do 5 weeks in Dubai and 5 weeks in New York. And that was exactly because I felt that we were stuck in Groundhog Day from COVID-19 for 2 years. It was more or less the same. So we want routines to help give us a platform where we don't have to waste energy, where we don't have to, spend extra time on things that aren't important. But we need to almost have those routines so we can break them. And that's where we can get new creative inputs, new creativity, new ideas, new experiences, and new ways of thinking. But I always say you have to know the rules, you have to know the routines in order to know when and what you want to break.
No, absolutely. I absolutely agree with you. And the question is obviously when human beings, are introducing new routines. Okay, well, because routine is about change. I mean, it's funny because it's a bit contradictory what I will say now, but your brain likes very much routines because your brain likes predictability. Hey, this is the way to save, the energy, right? But if you want to introduce some routine, it's about change, and your brain hates change, right? Yeah. So it's a bit contradictory. Now, why we are able to absorb the change? There are two things. You will change something, if there is a pain or if there's a pleasure. And the best way is to combine pain and the pleasure. Okay. You may say, okay, if I will not, introduce this routine, now it's okay, but it will be very, painful. Routine can be like sport every morning, some exercise, whatever, right? You will be overweight, your energy will go down, whatever. So you may say, okay, if I will not introduce it, there'll be a lot of pain. If I will have, much more energy. That's the pleasure, right? And if you look into the history, how best leaders are motivating, people to follow them, it's always combination of pain and pleasure, saying, hey, if we will stay where we are, we can survive some time, but it will be very painful to change. We can, move now, so it will be painful the way, but it'll be a lot of pleasure, at the end of the day, right? And this is it, because leadership is not about your business card. Leadership is about how many followers will follow you, basically, right? And this is it. And it's the same, like, because we have like our own routines, but then there are routines in our work, okay? And there are like one routine, for example, because I was teaching the class for the Charles University today, right? There was a seminar unlocking human potential and how to work with the energies. And one routine I recommended them, because they are teaching, they are lecturers, they are professors teaching, students, right? I told them it is a very difficult, when you teach online, okay, 3-4 hours a day, it's very difficult and it's energy consuming. So one routine would be like after 45 minutes, 1 hour, maybe 1.5 hours, let's go outside and look around the horizon, right? Take, it's a good for your eyes, and it keeps your amygdala, down, basically, right? So it can be one routine which you did not do in the past before COVID, because this, I mean, before the COVID, even me, I was like, hey, in IT, in software industry, whatever, I was doing some video conferences at that time, stuff like that, but not that often now. It was like 4, 5, sometimes 8 hours a day, really. And it takes a very different, concentration, as opposed if you are like lecturing in the room, right? So it can be one, routine, one example of the routine. Now, if you wanted to change something, you will not be able to create a routine immediately. It is about small steps, like step by step, because your brain works like, okay, hey, I would like to change this, right? That's fine. You need to have this big hairy goal, if you will, in your brain, but then you need to create the process, basically the plan. Like if for example your routine would be, okay, I would like to be, or your goal would be, I would like to be able to run marathon, right? I know that you wanted to run marathon and stuff, right? So then obviously you cannot run marathon immediately. Maybe you will start with like 5 kilometers, 1 kilometer run. It's called Indian, running, 1 kilometer run, 1 kilometer walk. And step by step, every time, every week, you will add a bit, right? Once you are finishing those, process goals or steps, if you will, dopamine is released, and dopamine will tell you, hey, it's good, and I reward you, so you feel good. But dopamine will give you energy to continue in that activity. So
yeah,
this is okay. Go ahead. Yeah.
Well, I just want to add in here, because what you're saying is so important, because you're touching on what is the motivation to have a routine and to have a habit. And this is the most important thing that you're saying. We need the reward center in our brains to light up. You cannot, or you should not, like, willpower your way through a routine all the time. Some days you're going to wake up, you're not going to feel like wanting to do your workout. Doesn't matter. Go do it anyway, unless you're hurt. But sure. you just go do it, right? But you have to always want to choose your routine. And so part of being able to set up a great routine is figuring out the real motivation. Everyone knows, oh, eat healthy. Oh, I have a routine to eat healthy. Okay, but like, I'm a female. Throughout my life, I've gone on diets, right? I go through a phase where I try to eat healthy and I eat a bunch of stuff, like carrots and broccoli. And then at some point I get sick of it. And then I want to go eat junk food again, and I fall off my diet, right? And everyone says, it has to be a sustainable lifestyle. We all know that. But then what's the motivation in here? Jan even said it so well. If you're truly motivated, then it doesn't feel like a willpower. It's not like every time I go out to a restaurant, I'm like, oh, I really want that burger, but I guess I have to eat that salad. I've found so much pleasure and pain in the rewards that I get from eating vegetables now that I'm like, my God, I want vegetables. Why aren't there vegetables on the menu? So it doesn't feel forced to be in the routine. It's a routine that I want, that I'm motivated to have, that I've chosen, that feels right for me.
Exactly. By the way, my friend, my dear friend Rene, put it there. He works in Microsoft and is a very interesting, person. And he put there the link why we need to have a rest, basically, why we need to have a breaks. Guys, if you look into the history, our predecessors, they were like hunting, having a rest, hunting, having a rest. We are like hunting, and there's a burnout, or maybe
exactly
whatever. So you need to, basically, the way the best athletes are working, they spend their energy, and then there's a recovery, and then they spend more energy. There is a more, recovery. But recovery is so important, and unfortunately, we in the business very often overlook that recovery is so important, because your energy is finite. And that's why it's important to plan. Because if we talk about the routines will save you energy. That's one point, absolutely, because it's like routine. You don't need to think, but you still need to have a, good breaks, and you need to have a recovery. I mean, you can have even like recovery routines. One of the routine can be like, okay, like every week, Saturday or Sunday, I may get a massage, or I may, visit physio if I do some sport, stuff like that, or twice, 3 times a week, I will have a really, very healthy dinner. Okay, whatever. But and those, once those routines are introduced, you will, repeat them, and your brain will, used to use it, and it's absolutely fine. On the other hand, what we know now, there are some routines which are not very healthy. David Sinclair, smoking. But look at the YouTube. David Sinclair now is a Canadian professor, and he's probably one of the best, if not the best, in longevity. Okay, and his new research shows that sugar, in fact, is not very healthy for your life. Okay, I mean, if you take a sugar from the fruits, that's fine. It also depends. If you are like top athlete, you need to have a sugar. But if you are like sitting, all the day, and maybe you walk a little bit, whatever, you don't need to have like, tons of the chocolates or whatever, right? So refined sugar, especially, is not good. Now, what they figure out in neuroscience, that more sugar you have, your amygdala is more active, which means that sugar is bringing, more nervosity and more, stress. It is a little bit contradictory, because you may hear, okay, if you have a good chocolate, endorphins are released, and depends, right? Needs to be the right amount. Okay, if it's like dark chocolate, it's probably fine. And we are like, each and every person is different, but our like eating routines and habits are very important. Now I will touch something is very often I'm hearing like, but how? Everybody knows like, hey, 3 hours before sleep we should not eat, because otherwise our organism is not in a good shape. How can I do it? I'm like eating all the time. So what if you try to introduce new routine in your life? What is helping to basically connect it with some existing routine you like already? Give you one example. I'm like eating 6:30, 6:45 latest. Sometimes if I have a dinner with somebody outside, obviously that's a different. And then I'm like, I'm taking my electronic, toothbrush, and I'm making my routine because I love it. I love this, routine. And after 7 o'clock, there's like no food whatsoever. I just have some, drink. So you can connect. And because I like really to use that electronic, toothbrush, right? So it's connected to the activity I like. But for me, it's like mental jingle. Hey, this is it. There's no way, Obviously, sometimes, maybe once a month, I break the rule. Okay, I'm a human being, but it's helping a lot, right? So you can create all of that in a different way. But it's a very, you can do another thing. I mean, a lot of people are admiring me. Hey, Jan, you are 60 and you are still running, or you do Nordic walking, whatever. How can you like get up in the morning and do it? Because I'm like ready. I prepare everything, all clothes and everything. So there's no excuse from amygdala. Hey, you should not go there, whatever. Today we were supposed to go with Rene for Nordic walking, but there was so huge wind, basically, right? I don't know how was it in your places, guys, but in Czech, especially in Prague, there was a huge. It was like 120 kilometers, wind, really terrible, So we didn't do Nordic walking, but I was still on my bike, on my stationary bike for 1 hour.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but here's the thing that I think is so great. It's like, especially with routines that are hard to get into, right?
Exactly.
I follow the 100% rule, which is I don't do it 99% of the time. Because even if you say every once in a while I'll take a break. I love, by the way, that you don't eat food in the evening. Same for me. I have a rule after dinner, no eating after that. But if you follow it 99%, more for like sports or doing your fitness or whatever, then every time you wake up in the morning, oh, I'm kind of tired. I have a big meeting. Do I feel like going in? Do I not? It makes it so much harder. If it's 100%, the alarm goes off, you get up, you do it. It's done. No need to think about it. No need to put any efforts into it. And what that does is it removes any of this amygdala having power. It removes any emotion, any drain. You just do it. I think that's where Nike got their slogan.
There's a one good and interesting comment from Edward. Edward Baza is our friend. He's here very often. Routines influence up to the 50% of our final decisions, which I tend to agree, absolutely. This is dangerous side and prevents evidence-based thinking. It is true, but I may look at it from the different angle. If I do some, routines, I don't need to think about those routines. So I have more process time to make, those decisions, or to have more logical, or you say evidence, based thinking. But this is absolutely true, because it's the same. Routines are good, but you need to be very careful. It should not be like think like routinely, right? Because routines, there are very good things with routines. There are some dangers with routines. Routines can kill curiosity, right? Curiosity is very important for our creativity, because curious people are asking a lot of new questions. Basically, can we do it differently? If you do things like, hey, this is the routine, or this is the rule, right? So you need to be careful what kind of the routines, and still keep, yourself curious, right? For example, you can, read some new articles about new subjects, whatever. You can run every time in a different, different way. With routines, it can be very similar, Edward, like with emotions, because sometimes we are making decisions which are totally based on our emotions, not our logic. Because very often amygdala does, emotional hijack. Okay, give you one example. Okay, today Sparta Prague is playing the match in the Continental League. Okay, and that one of the player, I'm like coaching him, Thomas Wiesner. He is not playing because he was basically kicked out during the last match because of the foul. The other guy was provoking him, and he decided, hey, I will, push him back, right? I will push back immediately. So there was an emotional decision to push back. The judge didn't see the other guy. He saw, Wiesner, and Wiesner was put out of the game. Okay. And now he's sitting on the bench, right? If he would say, okay, I would rather breathe in, breathe out. So I think more logically, I will take more logical decision. Logical decision would be, you should not retaliate. If you retaliate, I mean, you are in the deep shit, right? So this is it. And I think more and more, because we have a shorter and shorter time for our decisions, more and more there's a danger that emotions are, influencing those decisions. And obviously routines, because there is always there are pros and cons. So you need to think twice. Hey, is my thinking open, enough, right? For that, decision. Absolutely right. I agree.
And what I want to add here is, Edward, first of all, I always love and appreciate your comments. This reminds me a lot of Daniel Kahneman, Thinking Fast and Slow. And I almost think, do we want to make a distinction here? Is the way our brain has cognitive biases, meaning we have two systems, one that just thinks fast and sort of an automatic process, and one that slows down and asks questions? Are we going to call routines this automatic process, or, and this is up for debate here, are we looking at routines as something that we've consciously established? And then I would say we've actually then thought about it. We've done the slowing down. We've picked what we want the routine to be. And I wonder if it's really a routine or a bias that's going to be changing how our thinking is or how our decisions are made. And if there's a difference, I don't know. I think this is a really interesting point. I've personally never thought about the distinction between the two.
This is interesting, and some of the biases, it can be programs from the childhood, created by our parents and by our bringing up, right? And there is a great test. I will put it into the comments. There's a chap, Daniel Amen, okay, and he's a psychiatrist in the United States, and he got like 40,000 brain scans. And when he's like talking to the patient, he's looking at the brain scan and talking to the patient. And he created some tests. It's called Know Your Dragons. He figured out that there is up to the 13 programs which are dangerous, which can be in your subconsciousness from your childhood, created by the parents. I'll put it, you can do the test for free, basically. It's called Know Your Dragons, okay? And that will reveal what can be really something. It can be, your bias, or it can be absolutely wrong, program, right? It's good to go through that test. Exciting views. Edward is saying, absolutely. This is interesting what you said. I never thought about routine and bias. It's really interesting.
Yeah, we'll have to have a whole new session on that one.
Because if you have a bias, I think amygdala is playing active role there, probably, right? Because there's something which is called negative bias, that our brain is looking for the negative things, because amygdala is faster than neocortex, the logical part of the brain, right? But here we are talking about a bias like, hey, if there's some tennis match, so if I will have white socks, I will always win. Okay, so only white socks are good, for me, and I have a bias for all.
I'm not wearing white socks.
All right. So I'm putting it in that test. I'm putting in the comment line. Okay.
Yes.
Know Your Dragons.
As we're talking about the difference between biases and routines, it is true that your brain can get stuck in a routine. This is what I was saying that I think is so important for all of us, is to know which part of our lives do we want to put on automatic, which parts do we want to put on routine, and where do we want to spice things up, right? I don't know about all of you, but I have maybe 2, 3, 4 breakfasts that I eat, and that's kind of it, right? Unless it's the weekend. But during the week, it's really not a large variety. It's been the same way for many years, although now I'm doing intermittent fasting. Wish me luck. No more breakfast. Miss you, breakfast. But that's the kind of thing where I said I want to automate that. That's easier for my brain, right? I think the biases that we want to be careful of is when our brains are automating what's normal, what's the way things should work, how do we get, news echo chambers where we hear the same news over and over, so we only think down one certain path. For me, the best way to break out of and learn how to stop letting those old habits, old routines, old thought patterns, keep you now, is the book Think Again, also by Adam Grant. I guess I'm a huge Adam Grant fan today because it's the second book of his that I've recommended. But he really tells you how to slow down your thinking, how to break it down, how to ask really good questions, how to question yourself, how to help to question others so they don't feel threatened, and how to get new thinking overall. And this is actually what we want. Again, we want to create routines that give us the stability to let us them get to the next level of playing, business success, freedom and creativity and innovation. So we don't want those to keep us in a box. We want it to be the pedestal we step on.
Edward, remind me, Lisa.
Yeah.
You got the video was like broken. Anyway, Edward, remind me one thing. It seems like your routines are putting you on the homeostasis, which is like status of your brain. Like, okay, this is known, and everything is fine. And like your new decisions, new thinking, it's like you are out of the comfort zone. You are doing something, new. And I think there needs to be balance. But the real question Edward is rightly asking is, how to figure out which routines can still keep us, because you may think about homeostasis. I will draw something, okay, like this, okay. It can go
a
like
resident
this.
artist.
You learn something new, and then you're like on the stable level. Then you learn again something new, you move to the new level, right? The question is, what are the routines which are like helping you to move, and what are the routines to basically drawing you back, if you will, right? And when you can change those, because I'll give you one example, okay. You mentioned breakfast. I'm eating probably for 10 years still the same breakfast, which is like blackberries, blueberries, and some nuts and some yogurt. This is it, okay, all the time. Sometimes I change it a bit, but majority of the time. But then when I talk to one of the coaches, he told me, Jan, you should get more proteins because then you are like hungry, because you're giving away a lot of energy in the morning, and your body and your brain is not ready. And he was absolutely right. So sometimes you can say, okay, this is very healthy, Jan is eating very healthy breakfast. But in my case, when I'm teaching a lot of courses and do some coaching in the morning, I need to really get some proteins, now. So now I really, combine it. By the way, Lisa, what we know about fasting, it's not great to skip, breakfast. There's Italian, no kidding. There is Italian guy who did some research, and basically research shows that it's much more healthier to skip lunch or the dinner as opposed to the breakfast.
Sold. I'll skip dinner because I don't even like dinner that much. I
love
breakfast.
Listen, if I do it, for me, it's much easier to skip breakfast. I do it like that. The worst thing is dinner, and kind of in the middle is lunch, right? But it is. I think on one side it is a good for your body, but on the other hand, if you really need to have a lot of energy, if I'm not eating for a long time or longer time, like say 5-6 hours, I'm losing my energy and I'm getting sleepy basically. I have some athletes like Patrick Schick, that's the guy from Bundesliga. He needs to eat like 3 hours before the match. He needs to get spaghetti or whatever, something light, but he needs to eat, otherwise he's not able to play like full. So but we are like individual. It's an individual. Yeah.
But yeah, this is exactly what I was going to say. Two things, which is first, always be updating your routine.
Yeah.
For sports people who say 20 years, I've done the same hair tick, fine. But I'm talking business, times are changing. Technology is changing. How much information we have about the brain and the body is changing. Your body is changing. Your needs are changing. What you needed when you were 40 is not the same as what you need when you're 60. So don't feel like you set a routine and that's forever. Set a routine, have it solid, but then always be on the lookout for when is there new information coming in that could make it even better, and be optimizing your routines as much as possible.
Exactly.
That for me has been the most important. That's why I said, okay, I'll try intermittent fasting. And maybe it works and maybe it doesn't. I don't know. It's too early to tell. It's only been a week. Although I really miss breakfast. And so, you always test, and maybe you go back to the old routine, but the point is you should love your routines. You should want your routines. You should find your routines helpful for you. You should find them supporting you in creating the lifestyle and the life that you want. If they're not serving you, like smoking, cut it out.
Absolutely. There is a one point I would like to mention, and it's called in psychology priming, basically. You can, because the thing is that like your state, of your body and your brain depends on different chemicals in your brain, because your brain acts as a huge chemical factory, okay? And that priming, it's about a couple of things. It's about your body, it's about your focus, and it's about the internal story, internal dialogue, if you will, okay? What we know about body, that if, you know, it's called power posing, is if you stay like straight, you know, right, after 30 to 60 seconds, your testosterone goes up by 20%. Testosterone is about energy, so you have more energy. Then your cortisol goes down by 25%, which is, you know, stress hormone, obviously, and your ability to risk it's going up by 33%. That's why when you do, for example, some decisions, I think it is a good to, you know, stay straight, because your ability to risk it's, you know, higher. Okay, those numbers were lower, but then Amy Cuddy did some new research. That's the professor, Amy Cuddy, and those are the numbers, especially like if you do sport or before the presentation, before like teaching class. It's good to, your body can, you know, help you to feel, you know, good. Then where your focus goes, your energy goes. Okay,
Yeah.
so you need to be like concentrated. Hey, this is it, you know, this is the one thing. Be in the present moment. That's why, as Lisa said, if you are here and now, your brain, if you are in the flow, your brain is pretty much in 8 to 12 hertz, which is called alpha level, or even the level below, which is theta, 4 to 8, you know, hertz. Okay, and then you are like absolutely focused. Focus is important, because only if you are totally focused, you are mentally tough. You are like able to basically perform well, even, you know, when there is a huge pressure, right? You are able to take the best information, best knowledge, which is your long-term memory, and use it. Because your brain is not reacting immediately. Your brain is predicting based on what you learn. And last but not least, it's your internal story. Okay, because, you know, every word is creating some thought. Every thought is creating some emotion. Every emotion is creating some, you know, status. Emotion is when your thought is touching your body, more or less. So you may, you know, there is a tennis player. She is in, you know, top 5, you know, or top 10, and she's still saying, I don't like. She wants to be number 1. She's still saying, I don't like, you know, tournaments which are longer than 1 week, which are all Grand Slams. Which means like whenever she is playing Grand Slam, she's like saying herself, hey, this is not a good tournament for me, you know, right? That's absolutely counterproductive, you know, right? And now the question is how you can create best story. My experience is that people with the best internal story are those people with the growth mindset. Growth mindset means it's not like, hey, I'm the, you know, hero, I'm the superstar, whatever. No, growth mindset means be more of who you are. Every day, be better version of yourself. And even if you screw up some exam or you know, some match or whatever, you can still learn. We are learning the best from our own mistakes, you know, right? Because our brain is creating like the peak of neuroadrenaline, saying, hey, this is important, you need to remember that. Okay, so every day you can like remind yourself what was going well. You know, you can learn from what was going well, repair what was not going well. Hey, what I need to do, you know, differently, and basically imagine how you will do it in the future. Because imagination, our brain, we are special species because of our imagination and our memory. And because we have imagination and memory, we can memorize the future. You may think now, Jan is crazy. How I can memorize something which did not happen yet? You can, because your long-term memory behaves like a huge hard disk. It does not distinguish whether it's true or not. So you can visualize, you know, you can visualize in your mind, this is it, and you can basically store it in your brain. This is it. It's called, you know, imagination, right? So 99% of the Olympic Games winners are good visualizers, you know, right? And even if you take, again, if we go to the history, you know, Sun Tzu was saying, first, you need to win battle in your mind, and then you go and you win the battle on the battlefield, right? So I got into the flow already. So listen.
Yeah, and you're right there. I love listening to you get excited. First of all, I have a question. How do we get one of those t-shirts that you're wearing? Be more of who you are. For everyone who's watching, how do we get one of those? Yeah.
You can order it on the internet. If you go like T-shirt with this name, there's some company in Prague, and I mean, I will for you. I will bring it to you into the Zurich, right? But it's like
I thought it was yours. It's not your. It's not yours.
There is a story behind the slogan. 22 years ago, when I took over, I was my first international job in Microsoft. That was my slogan. I was like, hey, I cannot change people. I need to use what is best in the people, enable them. That's why I'm talking about unlocking human potential. And there was a big gathering in Atlanta. And I said, there was like 2,000 people from that region, Central and Eastern Europe. I said, I'm not going to change you. I don't want to change you. I want you to be more of who you are. And that was like the slogan for the whole region. And then we were like 4 years in a row, best performing region worldwide, right? So there's a story, and I really believe in that if you concentrate in your life on the journey, as opposed, results are important, but results are like the score. Okay, it's like the milestones, if you will. But if you love that journey, if you are inspired by what you do, okay, and you go like step by step, you don't know where you are. Today I was coaching one of the best guys in fencing in the world, Alexander Shupenic. He was the third at the Olympic Games, and obviously he wants to win, in Paris. And I said, let's go step by step. You don't know, maybe you will do like 3 golden, medals at the Olympic Games. We will see. You don't know, but you need to love what do. You need to love the journey. That's about, growth mindset. Because if you love what you do, then your amygdala is also like cooling down. Because what I realized, if you do what you really love and you have a huge emotional connection to that activity, you are authentic, okay? And that's what is your authenticity. This is who I am. It's cooling your amygdala down, because amygdala is active only if it's dangerous, if it's very new, or if it's chaotic, okay? But if you are on the journey, your amygdala is like cooling down.
Well, and this is what I want to say on about how this exactly relates to the power of routines, because often we're going to get to, I promise it's our last 10 minutes. We will actually share our routines with all of you. But here's the thing. What works for Jan does not mean, oh, Jan was successful, you should copy and paste it. Oh, Lisa, that's right. That works for you. Great. I'm going to take that and I'm going to use that too. Everybody's routine needs to be different for them. You cannot just copy and paste. And right now, I'm in the middle of coaching an executive team at a startup. And one person, I was coaching him individually, and he said, I know exactly what I need. It turned out after some coaching, he needs 2 hours in the morning blocked time so he can get his most important work done. Goes back to the team, says, I'm doing 2 hours of work. Great. Perfect. Works for him, works for the team. Everybody's on board. One of the other people on the leadership team was like, oh shit, 2 hours in the morning for work, that's great for the other person. Are you going to make me do that too? And I was like, whoa, I didn't make anyone do anything. And absolutely not if that doesn't work for you. And what ended up working for him was a 15-minute warm-up session, just like when you go to the gym, like, you go on the elliptical or you go on the treadmill, 15-minute warm-up session every morning. And that's when he can figure out the key things, focus, get the most important email out. One person needed 2 hours total concentration time. One person needed 15 minutes, high energy, fast paced, go, 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 fun.
Exactly.
Everybody's routine is different.
Absolutely. There's a one thing, okay? It is good to learn from the best in your specific field. Find the best people and learn from them. And because, emotions are contagious, you can learn a lot. We have those so-called mirror neurons, so you can learn a lot. But don't copy them, because you've got different set of the genes, okay? It's like, I'm really working very hard on my six-pack. I wanted to have six-pack like Ronaldo, but he's younger. He's got a different constitution. So far, I have the same like underwear like Ronaldo. Not necessarily. CR7 is the name of the brand. Okay, CR7. Not necessarily. I have a good, six-pack, but unfortunately there is still a little bit, fat here. Okay, but anyway, I'm like 60 years old. He's like 34, 35. I don't know. So this is it. So don't copy. I tell you what I do, for example, with those people, if they have some, interesting routines and so on. I try to figure out what is it, and then I like, hey, yeah, those are like my talents. How can I use it? How can I localize it for me? How it can work for me, right? Because we are very much obsessed by, hey, because he's doing that, he's doing that. There are people who think if they will do those, routines with the water like Nadal, that they will be, Grand Slam winners. You need to play very well.
Sorry.
So,
yeah.
Let's go. There are some, questions.
Well, everybody wants your T-shirt, Jan. So.
Oh yeah, guys, give me. Yeah. You know what, Lisa, continue to talk, and I will put the link to that company that they are producing it. Okay, great. Just give me a sec. Just talk and.
And my internet seems to be cutting out a little bit at this time. Do you want to bring Jana's question up, and then we can answer that?
Okay,
Jana, as I get older,
I'm looking for the link. So try to answer that question, Lisa, please. And
Jana wrote, as I get older, I feel like little things take more time, and my day does not have that many routines. How do I pick the most effective ones for my optimal mindset? Great question. I think what we have to do is start with the end, begin with the end in mind. Jan always loves to talk about the 7 habits of highly effective people. So I thought I'd bring that in. Begin with the end in mind. What's the most important thing to you? What are your value? What is the most important for your family or for what you want to do with your time? Start there. Don't let other people's requests decide what you're going to spend your time on. You decide. And then when you say, okay, it's well-being, it's fitness, it's success in the career, it's family, whatever it is that you choose, then you go back and you build the routine that's going to help support you there. Sometimes little things take more time. You have more things to do. Obviously, I have to cook, I have to clean, I have to, whatever, sort this out, schedule this and that. It's so easy to fill our days with junk. It's much harder to have the routine of when do I say no and when do I get things off of my plate so that I can make space for the important time and energy for the important stuff. So my routine answer for that, Jana, is get really good in your routine of different ways that you can very politely decline when people ask for things from you that don't serve your purpose and aren't actually that helpful to them also, right?
Yeah.
So start there.
Yeah, I also agree with Lisa, because for me, the major question, I try, what, I do a lot of things for free, like, online and so on. Then I do seminars, I have books, it's like paid for the companies and so on. But if I do like one-on-one with somebody, like really meeting on a one-on-one basis, it's the least efficient, way to communicate, right? So there needs to be reason. And if it's really like supporting my meaning, which is like unlocking human, potential, I do it. But I would say, okay, maybe we can meet like 5 with the same, problem, and let's talk that today. In fact, we agreed that we will do some roundtable on mental health of the athletes, like 10 people together. So I don't need to talk to each and every, person. But to say no, it's really key, and it's not easy, because our brain, we are basically wired to help each other, okay? But at the end of the day, if you need to at some point you need to say no to somebody to help maybe 10 other people, right? I know it's maybe it sounds like it's not fair. You want to do everything, but you are not able to do everything. And if you will try to please everybody, you will end up in the mental hospital like Jan. I was deeply depressed. One of the reasons why I was depressed, that I did not have enough, mental rest. And the reason was that I was working too much, right? And I did not have enough like mental recovery. I got enough recovery in terms of, my physicality, but not in terms of my, thoughts. Guys, Lisa, let's talk a little bit now about our routines. And you guys, if you can put in the chat, what are like your, routines, right? 1 or 2, good routines, right? That would be good. So maybe I'll start. Okay. So what I try in that, priming, I call it not priming necessarily, but like mental cocktail. I really do, like in the morning, I do some, breathing exercise. It's called breathing in the box, like 4-4, breathe in, holding 4-4, breathe out 4-4, holding 4-4. And you go like 3-4 minutes, maybe. That's one. Then I try to visualize my day. Like, what is the ideal day? I know that there are 2-3 things which are, happening that day. So I try to visualize it in that way. Then I have on my phone, because I'm very much visual, so I have like every year 5 different fields I would like to move. It's not necessarily like, oh, I wanted to do like 100, lectures somewhere or whatever. It's not necessarily that, but like 5 fields where I would like to move a little bit on my journey. One of my fields for this year is, for example, courses in English, which we did recorded with my friend Michal, and now we are working like, cutting it, and we will, start to market it. Okay. So this is another thing. Interesting, routine I have. I'm not online till like 9 o'clock. After I'm getting, online after my breakfast. Obviously, sometimes, I do like, I need to post 8 o'clock that I will do some live, whatever, but I don't do like emails, whatever can distract me after 9 o'clock. There is a one exception. I'm like downloading my podcast, which I listen. If I go with Rene, he was here today, so we are talking to each other. But if I'm alone, I listen to some podcasts. So those are the things I do in the morning. Then there is a day, and in the evening, usually I do like meditation and the 3P exercise. I like remind what was going well, repair what was not going well, and then like remind the next day. Yeah. So those are a couple of routines I do.
Yeah. And I apologize if I'm cutting out a little bit, but I'm going to share my routines because it's in some ways like Jan's, in some ways completely different. So the first thing that I do when I wake up, I usually wake up around 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. I always need quiet time in the morning. This is something that I know if I wake up at the same time as husband, kids, or wake up and have to jet off to work, it doesn't work for me. I need time to wake up with quiet in my thoughts. Then I wake up. My routine is to have a cup of coffee because I just love coffee. And then I go, and usually what I'll do is my most important work for the day. So I spend about 45 minutes to an hour making sure the most important stuff is done. The reason is if I don't do it, even if I've planned it the night before, I know what I have to do, I have so much anxiety for the rest of the day. When am I going to do it? I don't know when I'm going to get to it. I'm not sure when I have time. And then it's always on my mind. So I figured out for me, the best thing that I can do is 45 minutes, knock out the most important stuff. Whew, that's my calm time. Then I wake my kids up. I have my morning time with them because family is very important to me. And I get them ready for about an hour. And then I make sure I have the ability to do this because I run my own company. I try very hard almost every day not to have a meeting before 10 a.m. And then after the kids are out, that's when I do my sports. That's when I'm ready. I've done my work. I've had my family time. I get my sports in. I either go for a walk or a jog, sometimes a bike ride, almost always outside. And I hope I never hit winds like Jan was describing, but usually in Switzerland, it's not so bad. Even when it's snowing, it's beautiful to jog in the snow in the woods. And only from there, then I shower, have my hot shower, and then a little splash of cold to wake up my immune system. And that's when I get ready and I have my day. And that for me is the ultimate routine because I've hit the most important stuff. The important work is done. The family's done. The fitness is done. The clearing of all the junk or the anxiety is gone. And I'm fully focused, fully present with wherever I need to be. So that for me is the ultimate routine.
That is from Thomas, Frena. When I'm struggling with creativity or business activity, simply leave everything as it is and go for a run, sit on the bike and run away from it. When come back, usually with solution to the issue or at least with the energy to continue with the task. Absolutely. Yes. Because, if we are stressed, in general, amygdala would still tell you everything is important and everything is urgent, which is not the case at all. Okay. So we try to do very often things which are important but urgent. You need to do it. Sometimes, you know, you need to do it. But, you know, most efficient and effective way is to do things which are not urgent but important, you know, right? That's the way how you can use full capacity of your brain. Because if you are under the pressure, like struggling with the creativity, the chances are that your brain is tired, you know. Because as I said, your, you know, mental capacity, mental energy is finite for the day, okay? And if like it's, you know, you use it, you need to, you know, recover. And sport is a great way to recover your, you know, mental energy, because you are like on the fresh air. If you are moving, you know, the movement in general is helping you to create new neuroplasticity, new connections between your neurons. That's important if you learn something, you know, new. So new synapses are created. And then if you are like getting back from the run or from the bike, you have like, you know, clean brain more or less, and you can, you know, you basically restarting your brain. That's great. Absolutely.
And Tomas, I'll even take that one step further with you. Is I often do that when I'm coaching teams, when they're in meetings and they're having a session or they're doing business as usual, and I'm just watching as a coach. In the middle of something, we're all down one track. We've all somehow headed down this track without really realizing it. And I'll pause and I'll say, you know what? Let's take a 5-minute break. Go grab a coffee, go walk, go to the bathroom, whatever. And just see if there's something you notice about what's happening, right? So to sort of take the balcony view, what's going on in the meeting, we come back and then we say, how's the meeting going? Is it on the track we wanted? And just taking that break and being able to think about it in a different way, have the space, means that you're thinking about it differently, and you can come back with a renewed way of looking at it, a renewed way of noticing. But it's hard to do in the moment. You have to have that pause. So this applies to really anything that any of you are doing. When you're noticing you're here, take a break, take a minute, pause and reflect.
And there is to be like to have, you know, gender diversity and gender, you know, balance. There's a one from Ludmila: super walk with the dog, even that is bad weather, cleaning mind from the stress. Absolutely,
yes,
guys. You know, even if you walk with a dog, it's a form of meditation, because your, you know, puppy, your dog is always here and now. This is it. That's how the dogs are working. You know, that's why if you go with the trash, you know, to the trash bin, you know, you're returning back after 5 minutes, your dog is like welcoming you. Hey, you know, like you are not there for, you know, maybe 1 month. Absolutely, dog is always in the present moment. So it is a good, you know, it is a good way to basically clean your mind and your brain. Absolutely.
yes. Jan, we've almost run out of time, and we haven't even shared most of our routines. I don't know. What do we do? Do we stay late, tell them about our evening routines, or do we keep it for another session, put it in the notes?
I think we may keep it for another session. Yeah, you know, because I don't want to, you know, our friends to keep them out of the family. So whatever are they, you know.
Good. So we'll have another session soon on evening routines. Everybody focuses on morning routines, but guess what? Daytime and evening routines are just as important, if not more important.
Exactly. Okay, guys. Thanks very much. Take care and see you soon. Yeah.
We'll see you in 2 weeks right here.
Absolutely.
Have a great one, everyone. Take care.
Yeah.